Welcome to Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry, the greatest podcast on God's green earth. The podcast that spawned the Facebook group so good it almost broke the internet, The Brothership. And if you're not a member of the Brothership, and if you don't listen to Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry, why the heck not? Go search for it wherever you get your podcast. I am joined by my co-host, Ariel Agbalog. How are you doing, Ariel?
I am doing great. How about you?
Man, I am awesome. Wrapping up here, trying to get ready for our trip to Vegas, leaving tomorrow. But we have a ton of things to do. We have a guest staying in our house. My daughter has a play tomorrow for her acting class. That's going to be about 2 hours long. And then plus we have to go pick up some gifts for our guests that are staying here, drop the dogs off at the boarding where they'll be. So we have a busy day today and tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds like a loaded day for you, or a loaded weekend for you. You guys are going to Vegas, right? That's what you said?
Yeah, staying at the Mirage.
Wow, nice. I haven't been to Vegas in about 10 years. I have some stories from Vegas, but that stays in Vegas.
Well, we went, it was, I'm going to say February 2020. Yep, that's what it was. So, I remember while we were there, we were, hearing of the COVID and the whatever. Of course, we had no idea that, we would still be talking about it. And, here at the end of 2021. But we're really excited to go back. Hopefully I'll get to see Roman Gomez, Brandon Rice, and then I've got another friend that lives out there who's a scientist, and we're going to do lunch with his wife and 2 kids on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Well, cool. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and play for us this awesome interview that I did with the beloved Chris Zaucha. And he'll be back on the show again, because there were some questions I want to ask him that I didn't get a chance to. And this was just a random thing that happened. I saw him online at like 1 o'clock in the morning on Facebook Messenger and shot him a message. And next thing I knew, we were recording for about almost 2 hours. So I'm going to trim it down and, trim some of the fat from it, not to bore everybody. So I hope everyone enjoys this interview with Chris Zaucha.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right,
yep.
Cool. Let me turn video off. You don't need to see me sitting there in the basement. Creep.
Yeah, I'm without my shirt on. I mean, my wife don't even want to see that, dude.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Nobody needs that today.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad that we finally get to talk. I've wanted to talk to you since the Fan Fest.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and break kayfabe on what's going on right now. I just woke up, and it's 1:15 in the morning.
Yep.
And I had a message from you, or I sent you a message on Facebook, and then we just ended up recording. But let me tell you about this dream I was having.
Oh,
This is how crazy I am, right? So the 2 things in my life are true crime and wrestling, right? So I was having a dream that Bertrand Hebert's son was solving this murder. But the twist was he knew who the murderer was because he had been mimicking him all along. And there were actually 2 murderers.
Wow. That's
Yes.
crazy. I had the exact same dream. Isn't that weird?
It's really weird. Why am I dreaming about Bertrand Hebert and him having a son? I have no idea.
Hey, you read his Andre the Giant book, right?
No.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. One of the best wrestling autobiographies ever. Or biographies, I guess I should say. It's outstanding.
I can imagine. I enjoyed him when he was on this. He was on Breaking Kayfabe. He talked about the International House of Beer Garden, Beer Garden.
Pat Patterson. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's good. He's a good guest. He's a good guest.
Yeah. And didn't he write a Pat Patterson book?
He did Patterson, and I want to say he might have done Mad Dog Vachon, but don't quote me on that. I think I might be wrong, but he definitely did Andre the Giant, and he did Pat Patterson.
Yeah, he had a ton of knowledge when he was on, if I recall correctly. I might have to go back and listen to that. So, what are we talking about here today? Are we going to go back and talk about the grossest foods?
Whatever you want. You surprise me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start there. Have you ever eaten anything gross?
Nah, no. Well, like not on purpose.
Go ahead, shoot.
No, just like I hate so I don't like tomatoes. Now I know most people eat tomatoes, but I'm not most people. Anytime I get a burger or a sandwich or a hot dog, I'm always like blah 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 blah, no tomatoes. And they don't even taste bad. It's just the consistency. Like it's like biting into like a person. It just feels weird. So I'm like, nah, no tomatoes, and I don't like mushrooms either. Same reason. They don't even taste bad. They just don't feel right. Just eating them. They don't feel right, so I don't like them. I used to eat sardines a lot, like when I was like a kid. And then as I got older, I'm like, these are fucking awful. What am I doing? It's like licking a salt block, shaped like fish. It's awful.
So you don't eat tomatoes and mushrooms, but you just jump right into the sardines. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like forget mushrooms. I'm gonna go right for the sardines. But again, that was years ago. Like I used to get like anchovies on pizza. Now it's like I can't even imagine eating anchovies on pizza now. Like I said, it's just so damn salty.
Well, I'm from the rural South. I can't even imagine anchovies on pizza.
Isn't that crazy? It's insane, like what people put on pizza and what people eat on pizza. But
yeah.
You like I guess.
Well, I am one of the folks that likes the pineapple on the pizza.
I haven't that. I bet it's good, honestly. I bet it's actually good.
My favorite is pepperoni pineapple with the extra cheese. And I don't know how I started eating it, but that is my jam. And that's what I get. If I get a whole pie, that's what I get. Or if I get to choose my half pie, that is what I, because when you got kids, you have to make sacrifices, right?
Sure.
And, kids, my kids are crazy. They like everything plain. And I've noticed a lot of kids like it plain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was never the kid that liked everything plain. It's like maybe because my parents didn't give me the option to have anything plain. It was like you get it the way that it comes, and you're going to eat all of it, and you're going to enjoy it, and that's the way that it was.
And if you don't enjoy it, you're going to enjoy it until you enjoy it. Yes. Whether you enjoy it or not.
Yes, absolutely, man. Well, cool. Well, so I'm glad I didn't have you on for the gross food discussion because, that went hardly anywhere.
Well, that's the thing. I was listening to the other guys talking, and they're like, oh, I ate eel once. Whatever the fuck Ryan was talking about. Like, why would you voluntarily eat that? What's the matter with you? Was it eel or veal? What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, eel.
So you can't understand him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and his grandma made seal flipper. She cooked it to it was like a jelly, and then made a pie. And made a pie out of it. Seal flipper pie.
Yeah, there's something wrong. And that shame on him for not saying, I'm not eating this. That's his fault. You can't go out like, I ate this gross food. Well, why? Well, I tried to. I volunteered to do it. Well, that doesn't count. Volunteers, hey, look, there's some dog shit. I better go eat it. You just, if you know it's going to be gross, don't eat it.
Well, I grew up in the country, so I've got to have his back on this one. We ate rabbit. We ate raccoon. We ate possum. We ate squirrel.
See, I would think squirrel would be kind of stringy.
It was, and it tasted a lot like rat, which I've also eaten.
Oh, wow. Got problems.
So he's eating, eel or seal, and I'm like, well, hey, it's not as bad as a possum, I'm sure.
Well, probably not. What does possum taste like? Is that kind of like a lot of meat on it?
It tastes very similar to the squirrel.
Wow.
Yeah, not good at all. No.
Sounds delicious.
Horrible and
like
ugly.
How do you season it? Do you just put like salt and pepper?
Hey, that's how they season everything down south, Ben. Salt and pepper. Throw some flour on it. And then put hot sauce on it once you cook it. I mean, you wash it down with Coca-Cola.
I guess there's probably cultures that see people eat cow and they react the same way I reacted when you said you ate possum. So really, it's probably not that ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one story that I didn't tell was I was in Korea in 95, 96. I was in the military, and over there they eat dog, and it's called bulgogi. You would go to a restaurant and you would order bulgogi, which was beef bulgogi. Not every place had dog, but you could ask for dog. So I wouldn't even eat the bulgogi out of fear they would mix up the plates and I would get someone's dog.
That sounds delicious.
But one time we were on like a deployment there in Korea, and I was up near the DMZ, and we were just doing training missions, right? And so we were back in these woods, and there was these cages that had dogs stacked up in them outside, like it looked sort of like a farm, right? Well, one of the guys is like, look at that, there's dogs. And so he's like, I'm gonna go check it out. So he goes up there, and the rest of us are in the wood line. And so he goes up, and all of a sudden, these lights come on, like stadium lights, light up everything. He gets out of there, and we get back into the wood line, and we watch this guy drive up in like a 4-door, looks sort of like a Nissan Altima. It's probably a Hyundai. This is in Korea. And he gets out, and he's got on bikini briefs.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he's got like a pistol handgun down near his junk, and he's a good built guy, and he looks around, the dogs, sees the dogs are going crazy, and then he gets back in there, and we were just like, oh my gosh, did we just like stumble onto like a dog farm where they raise the dogs and then kill them and eat them, or what was it? I mean, there had to be 30 dog cages.
Holy shit, man! You should tell that story at the next FanFest.
yeah. Well, we were there, and there was only like 4, I think, of us, and thinking, hey, if this dude comes after us, we've got live rounds. He's got live rounds. What are we going? What's going to happen? And nobody spoke Korean, so we weren't talking our way out of it. So pretty crazy situation there.
That is crazy. Look, you breaking kayfabe on fucking dog rings in South Korea.
So I wanted to ask you, what are some holiday traditions that you got going on in the Zaucha house, or what are some that you grew up with?
So when I was a youngster, like, I think most families do this, so I don't want to make it sound like it was exclusive to us, but we would open presents on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day we would get presents from quote unquote Santa Claus. And up until I was like 16 or 17, my mother would I would tell her, I'd be like, look, because I'm like 16, right? I'm like, listen, I know that you're Santa, okay? The jig is up. You don't have to pretend that this is real. She's like, I'm telling you right now, if you say that Santa's not real, you're not getting anything. And I'm like, okay. So until I was like 17, I'm still going, okay, Santa's real. Just in case she actually called my bluff and didn't get me anything. I was like, shit. I didn't get any presents because I didn't believe in Santa Claus. So like we didn't have we have a big family. Like I'm the last of 10 kids. So there's a lot of us. So the only traditions that I had were like, since I'm the youngest, I was really spoiled. So I got anything I ever wanted. That's the only tradition that I really cared about, was that as long as I got my present. I don't give a shit about anybody else's stuff. As long as I got what I asked for, it was a great Christmas.
Dude, you're not going to believe this, but I am 100% the same. I got Santa Claus until I was probably 30.
That's great.
True story.
That's awesome.
Story. And we also, on Christmas Eve, we opened up the family presents and then woke up Christmas morning and we had Santa's presents. But Santa's presents were never wrapped.
Right. Yeah. Same here. Yep. That's true.
And so next time I go to my mother's, I'll get some of those pictures. But like, I remember one Christmas, my sister got a Village People album.
Oh, nice.
And I got Kiss. I want to say Alive.
Oh, cool.
And and my sister didn't care about the Village People, and I love the music, so that's how I, like the Village People. Still today, love the Village People.
That's
still
awesome.
I kind of I can deal with Kiss now. I like the live show of Kiss. I don't put on any Kiss, and if I did, it would be something like Strutter or Deuce or Cold Gin.
Sure.
Not anything after the makeup came off, because once the makeup came off, they broke kayfabe.
They broke kayfabe. They broke kiss fabe.
Yeah, and I wasn't into it. That was like right around the time that I started driving, and the people in my high school weren't into Kiss, so that there was a couple guys on the wrestling team that would listen to like let me see, maybe Heaven's on Fire or something.
Yeah, they're listening to Tears Are Falling, and that's it.
yes, that's it. Yeah. So, same with me, man. The Christmas that is so crazy. My wife with the kids, we open the presents and Santa separately, and where you think that the kids, but we do it all the same day on Christmas Day.
Okay. Yeah, see, so last year I told Shannon, and that's before Bryson came to stay with us. I told Shannon, I'm like, hey, let's just start telling the kids that Santa's real again. Let's just reverse kayfabe. And she's like, not going to work. I'm like, well, let's just do it anyway. So we called it, I'm notorious for calling family meetings, and they're always really stupid. And I just, it's just an excuse for me to just talk. So I call the kids downstairs, like, all right, having a family meeting. Like, listen, we told you that there's no Santa, but we were lying. There is a Santa. And my son's like, no, there's not. I'm like, yeah, there is. And if you don't believe in him, then you're not going to get anything. He's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because when you were younger, this was fun, but you guys are assholes now, so it's not as fun anymore. So now that we have Bryson, I said, you motherfuckers, you better not tell him that there's no fucking Santa, because I will beat your ass and you won't get presents. In that order.
So my wife explained to the kids that now they're in the club. So they're in the cool kids club, but you can't ruin it for the little kids. So you're kind of like a grown up now. So you have this secret that you can't tell the little kids because it'll ruin it for them. Remember how much you used to love Santa? Well, that's how they still are. So you have to wait for another adult or parent to break it to them, about the Santa.
Right. Yeah, we were in Tennessee. I think it was Tennessee with the kids. This is 2017, so almost 5 years ago. And we're like walking. I don't know what the hell we were doing, but River was like, "Is there really a tooth fairy?" And Shannon and I look at each other. We're like, "Listen, there's no tooth fairy. We put the money under your pillow. But we like to tell you there's a tooth fairy because it's fun." And they're like, "Okay." And then we start walking. And then they go, "What about Santa?" And we like stop dead in our tracks, like, "Oh, fuck." So we're like, "All right, listen, there's no Santa either." And Aiden's like, I knew it. I'm like, but you don't say anything to anybody younger than you. That's just because you don't want to ruin it for anybody else. So it was like, it was nice at the time, since like, listen, I don't want to do this Santa bullshit anymore. But now that they're older, I was like, man, I really miss when we did Santa bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you guys are too old for this. And now it's like, because like I said, we got a toddler. Now it's like we're starting all over again, which is cool. But at the same time, it's like, okay, now we gotta stop swearing in the house because we have a 2-year-old that's gonna repeat everything we say, and we also need to start believing in Santa Claus again, in that order. So
yeah, I was flipping through pictures. I couldn't remember Aiden's name, and so I was flipping through your pictures trying to find his name, and I saw a picture with River holding Bryson, and I was just like, man, that is the way they were holding him was just so sweet.
Yeah,
like you could tell that they like him and they help take care of him, and I thought, man, that was just so nice.
Aiden's the same way with him, except Aiden gets too rough, and he's 14, so he's predispositioned to be an asshole. Like when I was 14 years old, I was a douchebag too. So he'll grow out of it in like 4 or 5 years.
Well,
I hope.
Alex, my son, when he was 12 and 13, broke everything that he touched.
Oh God.
And actually, so I bought my wife this thing that suction cups onto the side of the shower stall so that she could put her foot up on and when she's shaving her legs, right?
Yeah.
And so he comes out of the shower at night and he goes, "Hey, that white thing on the wall, it fell off." And I said, "Well, tell me, bud, how did it fall off?" And he goes, "Well, I put my foot on it." I said, "Why did you put your foot on it? Were you trying to stand on it? You were going to shave your legs?" And he says, "No, I just saw that it was there and it was about foot height, so I put my foot up on it and it fell off." And so I said, "Okay, let's role play this. You come over here and sit on my bed, and I want to pretend like I'm you, and I'm going to show you what you should have done." So I shut the bathroom door. And he's sitting there and he's like, "Oh my gosh," he's like, I'm the stepdad, really, but I call him my son. And so, he's like, in his head, he's thinking, "You ain't my real dad. Why are you doing this to me?" So I open the door and I go, "Hey, Mom, Frankie, I broke that white thing off the wall. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to try it out and see what it was." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." I was like, "So it did not just fall off the freaking wall. You put your feet on it and broke it." But he didn't break it. The suction just came off, and I went and put it back, and it was all good. But it was one of those fun moments for me, where I get to teach my kid, to just come out and tell the truth. No one's going to be mad and be like, "Oh, you horrible child. Let me beat you with this belt. You pulled off mommy's foot thing for shaving her legs off of the wall. Big deal, right?"
Funny how kids tell stories like, "Oh, this fell off. Well, how did it happen? Well, I knocked it off." Okay, well, why don't you just skip the fell off part and just tell me you knocked it off? And we'll move on with our lives.
And that is my son 100%. And the way that he always goes about it is like he acts like he's going to get in trouble, and it's like, my wife is the sweetest lady that no one has ever gotten in trouble until I got in the house, and I'm the one that's like, "You're grounded."
Yeah, well, there has to be a bad cop. One parent is a good cop, one parent's a bad cop. That's the only way it works. If you have two bad cops, then you're too aggressive. You have two good cops, then your kids do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, well, that's me. I'm the one that's like, "You're grounded." Give me your phone.
Yeah, give me your phone. Talk to your friends. Yeah, that's right back. You don't have anymore.
You want to talk to somebody? Go talk to your mom.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to hang out with somebody? Hang out with me. I want to tell you about when I ate rat back in '97. Oh, great.
Oh man, some of the stories I tell those kids sometimes, man, it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, well, dude, like I said, like it's amazing how just from a parent to a child, just how different our lives were. Like with my dad, like I remember reading, like when your kids hear you talk about what you did when you were younger, they're like, "Oh my God, it seems like a million years ago." It's like completely foreign to them. When I had read, my dad grew up on the farm, like in the 40s, so like he was old, right? So I had read Jim Ross's book where he said that he used to have to like, his dad made him like drown puppies to like, just for controlling what's it called, population,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I go to my dad. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, did you ever drown puppies?" He's like, "Drown puppies? No, I never drowned puppies." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." And he goes, "We just killed them." I'm like, "Oh, oh, that's much better." I don't want to know how you did it, but okay, we'll go with that. But you tell a kid that now, they're like, "What the fuck? You killed puppies?"
Right. Yeah, you'd be the worst human being ever.
Yeah. Different times, man. Times change.
Yeah, well, my son's at the age where he's about to get his first girlfriend.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I have these talks with him. So I did the sex talk with him,
Yeah,
and couple years ago, and so I'm giving this advice, and he used to be like when I would start to say, hey, look, let me just tell you what's going on here. He would kind of get like nervous and roll his eyes or whatever. And now he said to my wife that day, he goes, man, I'm so glad that you and Frankie are having these talks with me.
yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. I think he's, he has to get over the initial, because my first reaction to everything is to make a joke out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so he thinks that either I'm picking on him or making fun of him or whatever.
Right.
And that's not the case. So he's seeing that with this girlfriend situation. And then plus my first girlfriend was a disaster. I'll have to tell that one on another episode.
Uh,
Any other holiday traditions?
we kind of got off the beaten path there. Holiday traditions? No. We open presents and eat, and like with our family now, it's pretty much the same thing. Like we'll have some of Shannon's family over on like Christmas Eve, and this is their first Christmas without my dad too, so it's kind of like, and not that we really did anything any differently, anyways, but it'll just be it'll be weird this time because he's not here. Now we'll just open presents and the kids will, scream and yell, and then they'll go to their rooms and leave us alone, which is all I want anyways. And then I'll watch A Christmas Story like 50 times and, probably order a pizza.
So pretty much same here. I have some vinyls, Christmas vinyls, and I have a milk crate full that are in storage. But I'm not going to bring them down this time because we're leaving on Saturday to go to Vegas. So I have some other ones that I just bought from either a flea market or a neighbor
Cool.
down the street. And we've been just listening to those. I always have to get one container of eggnog.
Yeah.
And then I try and watch the, whatever Christmas classics I have on DVD.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we... So we watch Polar Express. We'll watch Christmas Story, obviously. There's a animated type Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. I think it's from like 2009. It's really good. It's a Disney one. It's like I think it's just called The Christmas Carol.
My daughter watched that in school this week.
Yeah, it's really good. So we'll watch that. What the hell else do we watch? We might watch like Harry Potter. Just like kind of like, Harry Potter and Wizard of Oz. Those are kind of like they're not holiday themed, but they seem to play them around the holidays kind of show.
Uh-huh.
So we'll watch stuff like that. We'll watch The Grinch, not the movie, but the actual cartoon. Just the classics, Charlie Brown, all that jazz.
Yeah. So we usually go see like some play. So this past weekend we saw like a local theater did a Christmas Carol, and that was good. And so Monday when I picked Andy up from school, she said, "Oh, we watched a Christmas Carol on Disney Plus in our school today." I'm thinking,
Yeah.
"Oh, send you to private school, and this is what they're doing? They're not teaching you; they're just watching freaking movies."
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, only $15,000 a year,
Yeah. I watch movies at home for $600 a month. What the fuck?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I said, it was Disney. Was it Mickey Mouse? Goofy, who played Scrooge? Was it Scrooge McDuck? And she says, no. It was like animated, but it was like regular looking people. And
Right.
Then I'm glad you said it. So it must be the same one that you're talking about.
It's really good. I think what's his name? Gary Oldman's in it, and they kind of like take the characters and their faces and stuff are basically based on like Jim Carrey and Gary Oldman, whoever the hell. There's a few people in it that are like big stars. It's solid. It's really good.
Yeah, she said that it was like almost word for word, same as this play.
Yeah, it's badass.
Yeah, and last year we saw it was called Cirque Holidays, and it was like HOLIDAZE, and it was like a bunch of folks from Europe because they come out and talk to us, and they were, I think they had their name in books too. They were Russians, I mean, just all kinds of European folks that traveled around, and that was really cool. So it was like Cirque du Soleil, but it was
nice.
The gymnastic flipping and the dancing, and that was really cool. So the only thing that we've done this year is just the Christmas Carol.
I think we were supposed to take Bryson to like Polar Express or something, but I don't know if I guess we're not doing it because I'm not doing it. maybe we're doing it next year. We went to the mall on Monday, and that was horrible because I hate the mall. And Santa's there, and I go to Bryce. I'm like, "Oh, I go see Santa." He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "All right, let's go home." Came out
here. we took the dogs to PetSmart to get their picture with Santa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Someone commented that Santa was wearing a mask under their beard.
Oh, really? Yes. Santa, we saw had a mask over his beard. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. You figure you got all these, smelly, dirty kids all over you. I mean, I think I would wear a mask even if there wasn't COVID. Like,
that's exactly what I said too. My response is exactly. Who wouldn't want it on with his kids sitting on their lap? Snotty kids, got snot all over them. Coughing and hacking, not covering their mouth.
Seriously, I'm like I said, I this mask thing. I mean, it does get annoying sometimes, but at the same time, it's like, man, I wish we had thought of this like 30 years ago. Maybe I wouldn't get sick all the goddamn time.
Well, you know what? When I was in Korea, here I go again with when I was in Korea.
Yeah,
people wore masks all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. And I said, I remember asking someone, I said, why are they wearing a mask? Do they have like a compromised immune system? And they said, no, they probably have a cold and they just don't want to give it to other people.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is 1995, 96.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's revolutionary.
Right. Now you tell someone to wear a mask, like, this is fucking bullshit. Oh, fuck. This is America, damn it. And you know what? I honestly, and I don't want to turn this into a fucking mask episode, but I don't even get mad. Like, it's like they have a reason to feel that way. We may think like, okay, that's dumb. Why are you getting so upset? But maybe there's stuff that I do that people like kind of like roll their eyes, like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? So if people are upset they have to wear a mask, I don't care. It's like, whatever.
We were on a cruise a couple of weeks ago, and over Thanksgiving, we spent Thanksgiving on a cruise with the wife, the kids, and my in-laws, and it was tremendous. I think I'm trying to turn that into a family tradition.
Cool.
Yeah, and we were on a boat of about 2,000 people. And only one person one time mentioned the mask, and it was at karaoke, and it was like, he maybe had a couple of beverages, and he said, "Who here is sick of these masks?" No one said a word.
Oh God, yeah, because people are just tired of hearing about it. It's like, look, whatever.
Well, yeah. When you signed up for it, we knew we had to test negative before we got on. Had to be vaccinated, and you had to keep your mask on. It's in certain spots and whatever. No one backed this dude up whatsoever. We knew what it was when we were getting on there, and we were and if you remember, when it all happened, that'd be 600 or 700 people coming off ships that were infected. So we were like, yeah, that ain't happening to us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, if you get that, you don't realize that you're giving it to like fucking everybody. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you saw, but I posted, like we had photo bombs of people who were live streaming, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I went back and checked those people's YouTube channel, stalking the way that I stalk. And here's a video of the woman. And she's got, snot running down her face, and she's talking about how she was sick and she just got her test back and her test is negative. So when I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, she's infected. We were right there all by her, right?
Yeah.
No, she was negative. And then she's talking about how they didn't do the regular shore excursions, that they went out on their own around the town. So they may not have been, wearing masks or washing their hands or whatever, right? So I was like, oh man, thank goodness, right? Because we stayed like with the people on the ship, did the tours that that we paid for from Carnival, right? And
right.
One of them we just went from our boat to another boat and then went snorkeling, and then we went Roatan, and we were on like a bus full of people, and we went to like 10 spaces, so we weren't around a whole lot of other people who weren't there. And then the other one, I don't remember what we did on the other one, so it must not have been that fun, but it was kind of hilarious to see these people who think they might be infected that were on the ship with us. So it's like you're kind of like watching a TV show that you were on, like you're an extra and you didn't get to see how it ended. And I was like, oh, good. So we all ended up okay. But I did get the first cold that I have had last week. It's the first cold I've had in 2 years.
No shit, really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
The same time you had yours, because Shannon posted that picture of you with all the Kleenexes.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm lucky to be alive. I'll be honest with you. That was a terrible cold, and I think I thankfully with thoughts and prayers, I was able to survive.
And this week, Jana's got it. So mine lasted 5 days, and on my 5th day, she came down with it.
Oh man, that cold went through. My brother got it. Bryson's always got a book. Okay, so here's a funny story. Not funny, haha, but funny enough. So River was sick, I was sick, Bryson was sick. All three of us were sick. And like when guys get sick, like we're like gonna die we're just gonna drop dead. We're like at least I am. We're right. So I wake up, I think it was like last Wednesday morning, I don't remember. And Shannon's like, you guys all need to go get tested for COVID. I'm like, all right. So there's like pop-up stations everywhere. So we go to the one by our house. We all get tested. Of course, we're all negative, right? So I'm like, all right, sweet. So I get my negative test back. I text my boss. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way in. Because I told him I might be late because I'm waiting for our test to come back. So I take Bryson and I take him over to daycare. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to drop him off and go to work. And the girl comes out. She's like, I've been meaning to call you. He can't come to school because someone tested positive in his class. And I said, it's funny you mentioned that. I just took him and he tested negative. So I'm thinking he can go. And she's like, yeah, but the problem was he was in the class with the person that had it. So he can't come back till the 20th. I'm like, what? The 20th? It's like 2 weeks from now. So I call Shannon. I'm like, hey, so I'm coming home with Bryson and you can't go to work. Thankfully, she can work from home. I can't because I work at a fucking grocery store, but she can at least work from home. But it still sucks because it's like, it doesn't suck we have to spend time with him, but she has to work just like half days, just out of necessity. Because it's like I stay home with him until I have to leave at noon, and then she has him the rest of the day. So she has to stop working like at noon.
Wow, and then that was totally last minute too.
And that was absolutely last minute. But like I said, her work is really flexible. Thank goodness. Mine is flexible to a point. Like I can't stock shelves from home. Otherwise, I would never leave the house. Ever. I'm like, hey, it's time to go on vacation.
We're lucky that Jen is able to work from home and all that was really, really easy, and it's great, and her company's really, really cool, and and they have really embraced it, and don't know if they'll ever go back. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. They were finding out. I don't know if they did any studies or whatever, but the same amount of work was getting done if you work remote as it would if you actually went to the office. So I think Shannon, like overall, Shannon will still go to the office only like 2 or 3 days a week, and she's home the other 2 days or 3 days. So it's pretty nice.
Well, that's what Jan's company's found is people are just as productive, and the people, they think that they're even more productive because they don't have like the water cooler talk, the hey, let's go for a smoke break, hey, let's go to the bathroom together.
Oh God, yeah, smoke breaks are the worst, and I don't even smoke, but I see people at work taking smoke breaks. I'm like, you know what? Should I start smoking so I can take like 12 breaks a day? I'm like, what the fuck? Get to work.
When I was in the restaurant business, a girl would say, "Can I go take a non-smoking smoke break, please?" Sure.
Like, no, you need to start smoking. But until then, no.
Well, cool. Let's see. There was one more thing that I want to talk to you about.
We're talking for 3 hours now.
Let's see. There was one more thing. What was it? So, I know where it is. So I know I'll have to edit this part where I go whoa.
No, keep that part in. That's the best part of the whole show.
It's FanFest.
Yeah.
So when I told Barry and Jeff that I want to do this, well, one of the reasons is because I loved the FanFest.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And the FanFest is is great. Oh yeah, Rock and Roll Express. Yeah, they're great. Lynn Denton. Oh yeah, he's great. But really, to be and Jana feels the same way, and even though she doesn't even like wrestling or watch wrestling, it's that hanging out with everybody in between all the stuff
Oh, sure.
was the best part.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. And it was like, because I didn't know who I was going to see. Like, I know Travis. Like, Travis, we have like a side group, like me, Travis, Michael Herrick, and a few other fucking dorks. So I knew I would see those guys there. But like, I forgot you were going. So I'm like, oh, Frankie's here. And then like some guy comes up to me, he's like, hey, Chris, how are you? I'm Mark Russ. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't. Some people I used to know what they looked like. Like a guy, Ben James. He's like, hey, I'm Ben James. I'm like, holy shit, you look like that.
Yeah, right.
How are you not fat? Aren't you a wrestling fan? What the fuck? How are you in shape? Are you sure you're Ben James? But it's fun to talk to other fans because for a few reasons. One, you sometimes, especially like a wrestling convention type atmosphere, you tend to talk about a lot of wrestling. And after talking about a lot of wrestling, you don't want to talk about any more wrestling. So when you talk to other people about like music or sport, I'm not a big sports guy except for basketball, but like, stuff like that, that's where you really like connect with people because you're already there connected by wrestling. The way you make real connections is by other stuff outside of wrestling. So if you say like, oh, I like fucking Black Sabbath or whatever fucking music you're into, that's how you like really like connect with people. Like Howard Baum, who's like Arcadian Vanguard celebrity, if you will. Him and I connected through music. We hardly ever talk about wrestling because I'm like, this guy probably has to hear about wrestling 24 hours a day, so he's probably tired of fucking hearing about it. So we'll talk about music instead, which he's all in on that, as am I. That's the fun part. Talk about wrestling is badass too, but talk about other shit is awesome.
Yeah, it was great, meeting you and sitting at the table there with Michael Herrick and Travis Reigns, and I don't know who all else is there around us, and we were talking, and I'm saying, hey, I brought these things because my daughter used to be into wrestling, you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the flip side of that coin, for the Fan Fest, it's coming back from glory days with Jana and Max Biker and Barry, and we run into you and Howard Baum.
Yeah.
And Howard is in full Howard mode.
Yeah.
That like what you might hear sometimes on the 605 with telling his story. And it's like me, I was having a, holy shit or a this is awesome moment because you and Howard Baum were just going back and forth. And I'm just sitting there like a kid at the candy store watching this crazy interaction, at 12:30 or whatever, after a ton of craziness had went on, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He's hilarious, and he is exactly how he is. Like, I don't think that's like an act. I think that's how Howard actually is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he amps it up to be on the 605. I think that's just that's his personality.
Right. But there's a little bit of a difference in Howard coming down. He's getting out his artwork and he's putting it on the table. Hey, yeah, good to meet you, man. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for buying. Yeah, that's really cool. Here you get number 2, right? And then when you come in and he's like, you're not gonna believe this. I managed you.
Oh God, yes, yeah, I missed that part. Thank God. Oh Jesus Christ. I tried to stay. Denny Brown looked like he might have been a little like cranky that day. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I don't want to get beat up by Denny Brown.
Well, I grew up with folks in my family like that, and I just knew at some point he was going to take his belt off and just start spanking people. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. Forget it. And like when I heard about like Robert Gibson outside like shooting on people, I'm like, hey, I'm going to sit in here. Robert Gibson put everybody in the sugar hold. I'm like, I'm going to sit inside and just read a paper. Thanks, though.
Well, and it was really good for me to hear, this is your first appearance. And then, I think by the end or maybe the first of the next week when you got back, you're like, hey, I'm bringing the family next time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I wanted to bring them this time because, like, I think it was like maybe like 2 days before I left. Shannon's like, I don't want to go, but I am jealous that you're going and you get to go do stuff or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, listen, it's not too late. Just get tickets. I mean, what the fuck? Just go. But she's like, I'm not fucking going to Florida. She has no desire to go to Florida. But now it's like, I'm like, listen, just go. You'll have fun. I promise you, even if you don't like wrestling. Like, Aiden sat through Jerry Jarrett's, seminar. And he's like, I don't watch this stuff, but it was pretty interesting. So, I mean, I'm not saying that she needs to go watch fucking Barry Darsow talk about being Repo Man, but, it might still be kind of fun. I mean, who knows? That was the cool thing. Like, we're sitting there when Jerry Jarrett's, talking about whatever he was talking about at the time. And I'm sitting next to Michael Herrick, and I kind of like nudge him. And I'm like, dude, we're fucking sitting in here with Jerry fucking Jarrett, man. I'm like, this is pretty awesome. He's like, I know. Because, like, when you hear Barry on the podcast, he's like, oh, like, he's been around wrestling and wrestlers his whole life. He's like, oh, The Rock came over. We played fucking, Etch-a-Sketch. It's like, what the fuck, man? So, whereas I haven't. Like, Vern Gagne didn't come by my house and say, hey, well, let's play Sorry. He wasn't. So, when I meet a wrestler now, I'm like, holy shit, this is pretty amazing. Like, I still mark out. I'm like, whatever. It's great. FanFest was great.
So that is part 1 of my interview with Chris Zaucha. There is plenty more coming. We talked probably for another hour. I'm going to wrap it up right there where we just finished talking about FanFest. And let me just say that if you have not been to FanFest, what are you waiting on? If you're a member of the Brothership, you have got to make it to one. And there'll be more information about the next one, which is June 4th. That's a long way off. You've got 6 more months, right? So just make plans now. June the 4th, Lutz, Florida, Resident Inn. It's on Suncoast. Ariel, if you ever get a chance to talk to that dude, man, please do. He is so entertaining. The stuff that just comes out of his mouth just is hilarious. I mean, he was meant to entertain.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, reading his posts on Facebook, just the things he says, it's just so. He's just so out there. I know I kind of give him like a little bit of grief, but I mean, he knows it's all like fun and games. We both love the Dreamcast. That's like the greatest video game system ever, in my opinion. But yeah, he seems to be very entertaining person. I did listen to when he was on another podcast, which what was it again?
Stick to Wrestling.
Stick to Wrestling. There you go. There's so many other podcasts out there from the Arcadian Vanguard family. But yeah, Stick to Wrestling. He was so good. I can't wait for him to come back on the show and talk some more.
Yeah, he is super cool. I'll have to do a call where us three get on there. And I mentioned in that interview there about you posted like a picture of yourself with your bald head, and it says when you order Chris Zaucha off of Wish, and it was your picture.
Yeah, because we both. I had the Macho Man T-shirt that he wears also.
Well, cool, man. So we've got Christmas coming up. We've got New Year's coming up. Do you have any plans?
Actually, no. I'm trying to finalize my schedule at work. I think we are going to be off like an additional 2 days after Christmas. But for now, I'm not 100% sure. We are getting kind of busy at work, so I don't know if they're gonna actually have us come in like a day like during our holiday break or something just to get some stuff done. But other than that, there's no plans. Yeah, I don't really do anything around the holiday season. It's time for me to just relax and just kick back and just enjoy the break I have. So I mean, because I've been working graveyard shift for like over a decade already.
Wow.
About 11 years. So any kind of break I get, it's very. I just like to stay at home, especially during this like weird time where COVID and everything. My parents are kind of iffy about traveling or having people over, and as much as my mom wants to go to North Carolina to visit my sister, she's still my mom is still iffy on traveling, so we're just gonna stay home and probably cook and eat.
What kind of things do you cook special for the holidays? Anything?
Let's see. Well, we have our typical lumpia, pancit. We have the rice porridge that my mom does every year. She does it for not Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, Christmas time and New Year's, and it's rice porridge with some chicken, garlic, ginger, green onions, and the chicharron on top, some chicharron dusting on top. My dad does this meatloaf, this like steamed pork loaf called embutido, and it is a pork loaf with inside it has like hard boiled eggs. You could put raisins. I don't really like the raisins in there, but other like peppers and stuff like that, or chorizo. My dad puts chorizo sometimes, so he might do that if he's not too busy. He's also working, so. But that's usually the traditional Christmas dinner that my family has. So it's lumpia, pancit, embutido, and the rice porridge.
So what are each of those things?
Lumpia is the egg roll, the Filipino egg roll, and it has meats and vegetables in it. The pancit is the noodles. So my mom uses two kinds of noodles. She uses a thicker canton noodle, which is a thicker noodle. The bihon is also a thin glass noodle, or the clear noodle. Can't really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the other way to say it. And then it has some vegetables like carrots, green beans, cabbage, and also we add shrimp and pork belly and garlic, stuff like that. So it's a very hearty noodle dish.
I'm from the South, and so our foods would be the traditional foods. My mother never liked turkey, so she would always do ham. And then sweet potato casserole, which last night my wife had some errands to run, took my daughter to look at new frames for her glasses. And on the way home, they decided just to get Boston Market instead of us cooking, which I was thankful for. And they brought sweet potato casserole, which is something that my mom would always make. And so that was really cool that we were able to have that. And of course, in the South, you got to have macaroni and cheese. Last night we had corn with it, which my mom would usually have corn. My mom loved mashed potatoes, which she called cream potatoes. We always have to have that. So Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners, very similar. The same things. And then my mom would always make 3 or 4 different desserts. So my mom overcooked, and then she would, give plates away to neighbors or other family members or whatever. I mean, it was whenever people came to eat, lunch or dinner with us, they were always just amazed at how much my mother actually cooked. Because you're like, wow, all of us are supposed to eat that. Well, she was, cooking to give, part of it away or eat leftovers for a week.
That's awesome. What kind of desserts does your mother make?
So she makes this one that she calls chocolate eclair, but it's like a pie, but in a like a rectangular baking pan. And so it's got the, I don't know if it's wafers or some type of bread that's on the bottom. And then, the eclair filling, and then on top, graham crackers. So probably graham crackers on the bottom too. And then on the top is graham crackers covered in chocolate. Absolutely delicious. The thing that she always makes me is $100 chocolate cake. And she makes it, in the square pan as well. And it is just like super moist, and then chocolate cake with chocolate icing on it, absolutely delicious. She used to do pies, and all of the pies she would also do meringue on top. So she would do like an egg custard pie, she'd do chocolate pies, coconut cream pie. Sometimes she would do a red velvet cake. There's a cake that her and my grandma used to make that I absolutely love called a Brown Mountain cake. And it's a brown cake with I'm gonna guess like the flavor is probably caramel. The icing is the flavor of like is the color of caramel. I mean, there's got to be some of that in there somewhere. I don't have the recipe, but it was my favorite cake that my mom and my grandma which is her mom, used to make. Let's see what other desserts. So she used to do like peanut butter balls. And she actually sent me a picture of her making some of those this year, and of course I won't get to see her. But then she used to do like little snack things, like I forget what the actual name is, but she called it white trash. So it's like Chex Mix that you take and cover in chocolate, and then you put it in powdered sugar.
Oh wow.
So it ends up white, but that was really good. Oh, the other one that she used to do for me was it's Ritz crackers, and you take the put peanut butter in between two crackers, and then you dip that in white chocolate and let it harden. That's also one of my favorites.
Wow. Oh, wow. I gotta try that one. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, man. My mom she's always been like a amazing cook and loves to cook. That's like her relaxing, how she relaxes. Uh, well, that's how she used to relax. Now she sits and watches, Law and Order SVU or some true crime show of people getting murdered.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's you've grown up with such a bountiful array of food. I mean, of course, you're coming from the South. Um, wow, I envy you because my mom does not bake at all, and she doesn't know how to use the oven in our house, and we've had the oven for ever. And yeah, it's my mom doesn't bake at all. We don't have any desserts. We just buy our stuff, I guess. Yeah, or
Yeah.
just the box cake.
Yeah, a few months ago, it's actually my third cousin, my first cousin's daughter, who was a teacher at the school where my mom's a lunchroom lady. So my cousin, who's a teacher, said she wanted to have like a get together for her family, which are like my cousins and my uncle and his ex-wife, my aunt, and asked my mom if she'd cook for all of them. And my mom was just like, sure. And I said, so you just cooked for like 15 or 20 people? She says, yeah.
Wow.
And she just did it. She loved it. She was happy to do it. And I mean, so to me it was crazy. I would never ask someone if they'd want to cook for all those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's so much work.
And it wasn't. I wasn't there. I don't know that my sister was there. It was just my mom hanging out with my cousins and uncle, and was happy to do it.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah. Cool. What about New Year's, man? What do you do New Year's?
New Year's. I used to go party, but now that I'm 41, I just want to stay home. It's crazy out here. I live in East San Jose. It's not the most glamorous side of my city. It's usually the most crime-ridden part of the city. There's a lot of crazy people out there nowadays, drunk drivers and people just being weird. I know there's during New Year's, I almost knocked off my headset. During New Year's, there's a lot of people shooting their guns out in the air, and
Wow.
I just don't want to be around that anymore. I don't want to. You know what I mean? I'm at that age where it's like, okay, another year went by. The years have been going by quickly. The days been going by really quickly. It's already going to be 2022, and but I just want to stay home. I want to sleep or just stay warm in my house, in my room, and just relax with my dog.
Yeah, isn't it funny how like in your 20s you didn't even worry about it? Like you didn't even think like, oh, this could go wrong. This could, there could be a whole bunch of people, could be a fight, could be a shooting, could be drunk drivers. You never thought of any of that. Then you get like, close to 40, and then you go, I really don't want to deal with any of that. I'm just completely happy just to stay home and do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. My clubbing days are over. It's gonna be weird if I go clubbing as a 40-year-old, even though I don't look that old. But it doesn't feel right to me anymore. I'm like, I've been done with that phase of my life for a long time. I'm just happy either celebrating with my friends or being at home with my loved ones, and I'm perfectly content with that now.
Yeah, there used to be those nights where you would, go out to eat, go to the club, close the club down, then go out and eat again.
Yes.
And then you might get home 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning as the sun's coming up. And now it's like, okay, I'll go out with you and have dinner, maybe a drink afterwards. But after that, I'm coming home, sleeping in my own bed, And before it was like, where you'd sleep, if you would sleep, who'd be there with you, who'd be there when you woke up. You just went out and you just did the thing. And then now it's like, okay, I'll go out, but I'm going back to my bed. I'm going to sleep in my house. I'm not, going to go to 10 different places. I'll give you 2 places we can go to, and I am just so much happier now of not either going out or just going out and very limited. And then, knowing that at the end of the night is go back and relax and chill and wake up and to a brand new day fresh and not have to, watch the cigarette smell from the clubs or whatever of you,
Yeah, absolutely. There were times when I went to like a friend's party or a family party and I was dozing off, falling asleep at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And I was just like off in the corner, just sitting down, like nodding off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm either getting really old or I did not get enough sleep because I, worked the night before or something like that. But I just nod off at around like the earliest times. And it's just, I just want to go home and sleep.
My son is that way. He's 15 and he wants to go to bed early. Even if he doesn't go in and go to sleep right away, he wants to go in, lay down in the bed, watch TV. So it's going to be interesting for me to see him make that switch, right? Where he's 15 now and he wants to go to bed early, get a good night's sleep, and then later it's going to be like he won't want to go to bed at all. He'll want to stay out all night, right?
Yeah.
And then later in life he'll calm back down and he'll be ready to get back in the bed at 7:30 again.
Yeah, why does he want to go to bed so early at such a young age? When I was 15, I've always wanted to stay up late. I was watching like Monday Night Raw and trying to, beg my parents to like let me stay up because it's a school day.
Well, so my 13-year-old daughter, she is that way. Like you have to make her go to bed. She will stay up all night long and then try and sleep all day if she could. She's a vampire, but he has always been this little old man trapped in this teenager's body. He doesn't want to stay up late and just he eats his dinner, wants to shower, and like his grandpa, my wife's father, is the same way. He's like, eat, maybe play a family game or two, then shower, and then it's time to lay down and go to bed. 7:30, 8 o'clock, and Alex is so cute. He's that same way. But you and I both know, he's got those hormones that are starting to rage crazy, and he's going to want to stay up all night here soon.
Yeah, you better watch out.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for doing this podcast with me, and I look forward to talking with you, next week sometime and doing another podcast. Gotten a lot of great feedback from the brothership, and hopefully we'll get some of the other guys on. I probably had 4 or 5 guys say, "Yeah, I'd love to be on." So we'll get some new people on after the holidays.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. I'm trying to improve every week or every time I do the podcast. Well, see, I'm trying not to say so much or smack my lips, and that's a peeve of mine from other podcasters. But I'm doing it too right now, and you can't see me right now, but I'm like fidgety. Like I'm trying to do something with my hands. Just okay, that didn't sound right. But okay, I gotta slow down when I'm speaking because I tend to talk fast. Also, when I'm kind of revved up. And yeah, so I thanks for but thanks for having me on, and I really need to practice doing this thing called podcasting. I've never done this before. I'm
Oh man,
a,
don't worry. After we've done this 5 or 6 years, we'll have it down.
oh
We'll sound like
wow.
we'll sound like professionals.
5 or 6 years, that's great.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. You take care.
You too, thank you.
All right, and that wraps us up for this week. And let me just say once again, if you don't listen to Breaking Kayfabe with Baldred and Barry, then I don't know how you found this podcast, Broken Kayfabe. So go to wherever you find your podcast and download Breaking Kayfabe with Baldred and Barry. And what we're talking about here will make so much more sense. Also, go to Facebook and look for the Breaking Kayfabe with Baldred and Barry Facebook group. That is what we call the Brothership. It is a big fun group of guys and girls interacting and being very positive and supportive and talking about everything from movies, sports, radio, TV, movies, you name it. Did I say food? Wrestling. We also talk about wrestling, which is the common thing that united us. So go and like the Facebook group, or join the Facebook group, and don't be an asshole or you'll get booted. It's all very positive, fun, happy stuff for the most part. Politics free zone. As well, and then also make plans to come to the CWF Legends Fanfest June the 4th at the Residence Inn in Lutz, Florida on Suncoast Parkway. And that's where you'll get to hang out with the brother shippers in person, and we'll talk and just have a great time. Thank you so much for listening, and we will have you a new podcast out next week with more from my interview with Chris Zaucha. Bye.